Oh, good afternoon. Well, I stayed up awful late last night, way past my bedtime. I was watching a show last night. It's called Two Lees in a Pod. Uh, it was interesting all the way through, and when I got up this morning, I finished watching it. It was live last night, and they put a few things up there that were extremely interesting and informative. It has to do with the things going on in Otter Creek, including their town meeting last night. Surprise, surprise. Looks like Jeremy was served. Seems like he's been a naughty boy. Some of the things that I thought all along, it looks like maybe he's being sued over them. And part of it, I think people need to look at it pretty close. I got involved with the whole scenario out there over the First Amendment and its freedom of speech. And part of enjoying the benefits of our Constitution is trying to be careful not to take advantage of that and going to the point where you turn freedom of speech into a daily harassment of another citizen. One of the best ways to lose our freedoms is to abuse the freedoms. And I know everybody says, well, if you're free to do something, you're free to do it your way, and there's no two ways about it. And I beg to differ with you. And I could see the writing on the wall quite a while ago. I knew that just as weapons out there exist that can do instant harm, the freedom of speech, if turned into a way of harassment, over time can harm somebody just as bad, if not worse, because it is a form of mental torture if it's used in the wrong way. And we've known about mental torture for a lot of years. During wartime, enemies used it on each other. And in this case, it's been a daily attack on social media, and the person is fighting back. And there is multiple lawyers that have got involved in the case, and in this case, they're helping out a person that does not have the finances to defend herself. So they're doing just that. And salvo after salvo has been fired at this person. Her name is Michelle. A lot of people know her as Lynette. There are some other names used out there that aren't very nice, but it's been going on for quite a while, and it's hard to dispel names when they're in front of you all the time. And now it's a matter of trying to go back and repair some of those wrongs. Nobody should have to be called these disparaging names. And this, in a way, this lawsuit may solve some of that, at least for this person. But I think it's one that probably the nation will, in one way or the other, will be looking at it and probably affected. The First Amendment, we guard it, but sometimes guarding it isn't enough. People that take advantage of that First Amendment sometimes need to be brought down a notch when they use it as a weapon instead of conversation. That's my belief, my opinion. We have lost a foothold on most of our rights according to the Constitution, one of them being the second, the right to bear arms. And the reason it's been chipped away is because people do stupid things with arms. And trying to contain those stupid things ends up imposing on the rights of the people that have good sense not to do things like that. And that's what's happened to our First Amendment too. It's slowly but surely being compressed on all of us. And so we should all be interested in something like this. The person that decided to use this against another one is got some issues of his own, and it's really hard to diagnose the exact cause of those issues. You see, I'm not a psychologist, but he happens to fit certain characters within the descriptions that a psychologist would be testing for. It's funny, you have to dance around things a little bit, mainly because YouTube has its rules, the federal government has its rules. A lot of times I like to think that I use the commandment of the Lord to guide me. But man's rules actually are much stricter, much harder to follow, and they have the tendency to make a slave out of you, if you will. I wish there was a way that we could get people to adhere to what I call the Lord's laws or the commandments. We wouldn't need all the laws of man if we followed those things pretty close. A lot of generations have been turned off by religion, and I can understand why. It seems like the good guy finishes last in a lot of instances. Persistence will change the course. And in the end, even though I can tell you the good will win, it may be too late for some of the good people to win. You know, the 23rd Psalm talks about a shepherd. He says, well, in effect, it's more, he says, yea, though I walk through the valley of death, I feel no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And sometimes, even though the Lord is there to guard over you, the rod and the staff being the comfort can very well mean some words that are for defending yourself against things that might do harm to you. So you have to look at when somebody says the Christian will stand there and take it, turn the other cheek. That's not necessarily what I think the Lord intended for you to do. He doesn't want his people to be taken advantage of. He proved that, and some people say he got mad, but he proved that at the temple when he took all the money changers' tables and threw them off the steps and got after the money changers out there who were trying to make a profit out of using the temple and taking advantage of the people that were going to go inside and pray and praise the Lord. Those are kind of things that the devil tries to use against you. He turns the words around. He will use and justify the Bible to do wrong. The person that does that is wrong, and they're not Christian. All right, before I go any further, I already told you last night I stayed up about too late, and it was 2 lees in a pod. Lees being L-E-E apostrophe S. and it's in a pod, okay? It was informative and proof, not only in documentation, but in videos. And it has to be that they brought some things up on Mr. Jeremy of What the Hells. It was enlightening, and I would say if you get a chance, go look at that video. Now, part 2 is going to be tonight. My understanding. And probably, I'm thinking it might be 9 o'clock again. If I watch tonight, it's probably only be for an hour because I haven't caught up on last night's sleep. I stayed up till wee hours in the morning. But I give a shout out to you. You kept it so interesting. I broke my record for staying up late. Here's another one. Young guy, Super Dave. He's got Milltown's Best. MILTOWNS. Best. Okay? Another young YouTuber does the same thing. He goes out and gets the documentation and gets film, videos. He posts them on his channel, and he's going to give you his opinion, and he's very good at it. Just a young fella. Matter of fact, I've got great grandkids that are pretty close to his age, so. All right, there's another young guy. He took some videos at that meeting out in Otter Creek last night, and he caught him in the act. Yes, sir, he caught Jeremy was being served by the same guy that served him. Thomas, from Living the Country Life. That's his channel. Living the Country Life by Thomas Collins. And I'm not doxing him, that's the name of his channel. Living the Country Life by Thomas Collins. You did a great job out there, and I'm shouting out and trying to get some people over there to watch you. Sub to his channel, please. Sub to all these people I'm naming. It's worth it. You're going to get information. These people bring documentation with them. They don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. They're very good, and it's hard to shut the channel down when you're listening to these people. I want to give you another young fellow here, and he has a good head on his shoulders. And I'll explain it why. First, I'm going to tell you what it is. Storage Legends. He's trying to build this into a legend. He buys storage lockers and then sells the contents. He has more enthusiasm than 10 people. When he goes in there, his eyes light up, and he starts digging away and going at it. Now, this young man is going to have a big channel. There's no doubt in my mind. He hasn't hit 30 yet, but he's getting close. And I'm talking about years. Okay. He certainly has my attention. His name is Guapo. Guapo. He loves having a good time. He's got a, I call it I forget what. I'll come back to what he's got. But he goes out and he has a ball on the water, like a ski-doo, being a brand. And no, not the snowmobile. But. All right, Storage Legends. Shout out to you, Guapo. I did watch your latest live out there. The reason I say he's got a good head on his shoulders, he has had a confrontation with Jeremy, and being the bigger man, he refused to make it physical. Although Jeremy tried, and we all seem to think that the reason he was pushing so hard was so they could start a lawsuit, because if you looked at a list that Midtown put out, you'll see that Jeremy not only does he like to start lawsuits, he has a problem with everybody that he's ever done business with or anybody that's had a disagreement with him. It's a long list. Milltown's best. If you go on that channel, you get to see the list. Just go through it. There's a heading out there that'll tell you what it is. Guapo, he showed that he's the better man simply because he said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not here for that. Now, there's a lot of people that accused him of not being manly in this thing, and I think he was the bigger man, simply because he knew what the other guy was like. He's worked with him, so he's got a good head on his shoulders. He knows what's going on. I think he's smarter than that guy, and I'm pretty sure he is, by his actions. Now, his business is going to get bigger and better as time goes on, and he's got plenty of time to do it as young as he is. Give him a shout out. Storage Legends. I've got a guy on here. I've looked at his channel many times, and I've left a few comments here and there, but I've never given him a shout out. And he happened to mention it in his video today. And Darwin, I'm sorry I never give you a shout out. I don't do it very often. But Darwin, Darwin, Goodson, Goodson. He does he calls it his doghouse. It's a shed with a window, and it's set up so that he can do his videos similar to what I'm doing. I'm doing mine in a garage, and he's doing his in a building that I'm assuming is out in the backyard. I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming it's there. Maybe he'll give us a different type of description or whatever. But here's a shout out to you, Darwin. Sorry I didn't give you a shout out earlier. Unfortunately, he hasn't got credit for backing a lot of us up. He has an opinion like all of us do. And although they're not 100% the same opinion as each of us, and none of us have the same opinion every time. None of us do. We're individuals just like all of you out there that are subbing to our channels. Darwin, shout out again. So, how's that? At least 3 to 4 times on my channel, I'm shouting out to you. And yes, I do listen to your content, and I'm glad you're out there. More people that are retired need to get out there and tell their story. It's hard to compete with younger generation, number one, because it's mostly younger people that watch. But it's hard to compete with video games, TV, internet in general. There's just too many things for other people to be entertained by. It's not like the old days when I was a kid and I would sit and listen to my grandmother with great big eyes and listen to all them stories from her she would tell about when she was on the farm back in the 1800s. And that seems a long time ago to all of you guys out there. To me, it seems like it was just a few weeks ago. Back then we were taught to respect our elders, and we really did because, they were the biggest entertainment in town. I learned a lot of things from my elders. A lot of things that were valuable. My grandma taught me how to count money forwards and backwards, tie my shoes so I wouldn't trip. She actually taught me how to crochet when I was very young. Now, not too many men have ever crocheted, but when there's not a lot of things out there to do in an evening on a cold winter night, there's nothing wrong with doing a little bit of crocheting. My grandmother, she loved to do it, and she was a mathematician, and if you're good with math, you can crochet. Now, only the people who crochet know what I'm talking about, but that's okay. Another one, I told you yesterday I wanted to talk about him a little bit. This guy has worked around Jeremy before, knows him, is from the same original area back years ago. And he's called Psychobabble Rap, okay? He's got a good channel. He knows what he's talking about. Go over there and check him out. You might be very interested. I know that he appears on my channel quite a few times, always makes a comment. And I enjoy his wisdom. And I would say I agree with most of them. But that's the reason we watch different channels out there, is we agree with the biggest share of what they're putting on. We certainly wouldn't go to somebody we don't like, right? Now there's the one out there, it's a gal, she's trying to get a channel going. Her name is Linda. She's got a channel called Creative Crafter. She's just trying to get it up and running now. She's retired, starting a new job, and articulate in her speech. And I think she'll do good, well for no longer than she's done it. She's got over 600, close to 700 subs. It'd be nice if we went out there and subbed to her channel and get her over to 1,000, so she can get into the market of making a little money out there. She is retired. She's doing it right now more like a hobby, like all of us do. And she's got a few stories to tell. So, shout out to you, Linda. I enjoy your channel and look forward to see it grow. Now we got a lawyer on here that's been helping out. And Jeremy doesn't like this guy, but hey, when he don't like somebody, they go on the list, right? Well, he's on that list, just like I am. For his people, it's actually probably a no contact list unless you want to be a mole. His name is Bruce Matzkin. It's Bruce Matzkin. Yes, he is a good lawyer, in my mind. And I believe he's legal in 2 states. By the way, it's Esquire, okay, ESQ. Bruce is giving out some information to us from time to time on what we need. He's helped out setting things up, and he's been described as about everything but what you really want. But I'm going to tell you, he's the man. He's very interested in helping people. He seems very informative. He's not easily fooled. And yeah, he has run into problems with our friend Jeremy. So that in itself has got to mean something. So anyway, he's been appearing on 2 Lees in a Pod. So you might see him tonight. If you look at 2 Lees in a Pod on their podcast last night, he's actually in there, and you'll see, or you'll hear him speak in there, and get an idea of the type of knowledge he's got. Okay, now that took quite a while. I spent 24 minutes going over that. I will be on 2 Lees in a Pod just in the comment section. And some of these people that I just mentioned will also be on there in the comment section. So, get a chance, you want to stop by there tonight for a little bit of entertainment, I'd suggest go ahead and do it. If you want to help them out, subscribe to their channels. That always helps out too, and lets them know that there's people interested in what they're doing, and will keep them on the track of doing just that. Now, all of you know that it's kind of a good way for people to supplement their income when they're starting up, and they have these shows to do that. And it's a good reason to subscribe and help them out. Now with me, I have no intention of ever monetizing this channel. I don't want to be beholden to the channel. If I decide that I'm going to be gone tomorrow, then I'll give you a goodbye and I'll be gone. At my age, I'm not looking to invest in a lot of equipment, and it's hard for me to change from the way I already am. So at my channel, I don't believe will ever really grow that much. There's not going to be that many things that I can keep your attention on. I happened to run across this channel, and it's not one that I enjoyed doing that much, because I found too many haters in it, and it goes against my grain to be associated with haters. And I know that most people are good, they have a good base to them, and if you hang out in these areas like that, it sometimes will rub off on you, and you get to utilizing names and descriptions, and you get too involved in it, and becomes a group, a cult, gang. I mean, there's a lot of numbers, a lot of things that I think of when I see shows like that one that is mainly down in Otter Creek. The people of Otter Creek don't deserve the notoriety they've had. There's a lot of good people there that have never been on the YouTube and want to mind their own business and live their own life. A lot of them, that's why they live there in that town. And the cost is always kept down too, because they're not obligated to supporting a lot of governmental officials or projects. And I think things are going to change down there. A lot of these people are going to find the taxes will probably be affected. Their old habits will have to change, and they're finding that out right now. And I'm not saying that the changes are all bad, not in the least. We all pick the nest we want to set in, right? Now for me, I looked around for a couple of years before I found the house I'm in. My wife and I bought this a little over 21 years ago. Maybe it's 22, but over 21 anyway. And it was pretty much blank around here, just a couple of trees and a couple of bushes out front, but nothing to really set it off. And we planted trees and bushes and flowers, and the first thing was getting this garage up. We put a fence in the back so our pup could be out there by himself without having to be on a chain or a rope or anything like that. We like him to have freedom. And the yard back here being that way is more for our pup, although we enjoy it too. We've got a deck out here, and we sit in our easy chairs out there, things like that. I know you can appreciate something like that, right? And we've redone the front out there too. We've got some pretty nice stonework out there. Makes it easy for people to walk up. I think I've got 6.5 inch rise, and the run is more like 3 feet. In other words, just when you step up, take a step, step up, take a step. It gives you a chance to rest on the way up. This was built mainly for my hobbies, which was classic cars. And I enjoyed that for the first part of my retirement. But as you get older, it's a little harder to get underneath them, and it's harder to bend over the fender to work in the motor. And I have had to tear my motors part way down and work on them, things like that. I've gotten underneath them and worked on the transmission different times. Vehicles, one thing for sure, they break down. And I've got the electronic equipment to see what's wrong with them. You plug it in and it gives you somewhat of an answer, and if you can read schematics, it'll help you there for the electrical part of it. I was lucky enough that part of my work years ago was with electronics, and so that thing comes in handy. At least I can read it and understand what's going on. And if I don't, I get on the internet and I find out from somebody else. You don't have to know it all. You just have to know where to get it, right? Okay. Part of getting older is you don't have to keep it all up here. You can rely on somebody else and use them like an index card, open it up, and you say, okay, here, look at it. Well, the index card on here is looking it up on YouTube, and find somebody that's already done it and listen to them a little bit. And as soon as you get figured out after they've told you how to do it, then you leave that on place. You go over there and do the work on that, and you've got this to keep going. And you have your own little camera to take pictures of what you're doing, so you don't lose your place. You can get by pretty good. You end up being a pretty good mechanic. So you don't have to be a genius by any means to get by in this world anymore. This changed that. The genius is inside here. Wish I'd invented it. I wouldn't have to worry about being a genius, would I? Boy, would I have a lot of money. Speaking of which, this old boy that likes to sue everybody, his main intent is to break people financially if he can. And he said as much. Boy, I hate to see things like that. And I always say, I don't hate anything. Well, I guess that's putting it way out there. Now, when I say I don't hate anything, it's really, I don't hate people. I get disappointed in them. And there's a difference. Hate drives you into doing things that you shouldn't do. You lose your sense of direction. Don't do that. If you can keep your sense of direction about you, things will come out and work right for you. Use the tools at hand to accomplish your tasks. You'll be okay. Oh yeah, in the last week, I have been overwhelmingly attacked on the internet by trolls. The things I've asked them not to do, of course they do because they know you don't like it, and that is, trying to overwhelm your channel with so many comments that nobody else can get in there and make a comment where you can look at it. That's unfortunate. That's one of those things I told you about. You don't want to ruin your freedom of speech by taking advantage of it and harassing people. A lot of those people that attack my channel don't understand. It's just my opinion. And you don't have to listen to my opinion. And you don't have to change yours to be on my channel. I don't require that. And I don't require that you only look at my channel. You can look at any channel you want. You're still welcome here. And you can sub to it if you want, but you don't have to. It's open. You can get on there. I'm just not demanding, and there's no reason for me to. I told you I don't have any strings to this, and I don't put strings out for you other than you have to behave yourself if you come on here. That's it. Behave yourself. That's not a big deal. Now, if you were raised where you never had to behave yourself in your whole life, then maybe you'll come on here and act like that 6-year-old. Let's hope not. Yeah. Be a big boy. Come on here and it makes sense when you come on here. And you can try to talk me out of how I believe, and some people have. I've got different people out there that would like me to change my views, and maybe they've affected them a little bit, but more than likely, I'm pretty bullheaded on a lot of things. Constitutional rights, the commandments that the Lord has given us. And I know you don't want me to get up there on a pulpit, do you? So I won't do that for you. I would rather inspire you in different ways. If you can be a good person and help others out, well, that's important, very important. And sometimes you'll meander around to a path that I like to think is enlightened. But that's strictly up to you. If you want to come on my channel, you're welcome. I don't know. You know what? I can't think of too much more today. You can give me some comments down there. Today was more of a shout out to different channels that I go to, and I sure would like it if you would pay them a visit. I guess it's up to you. I know if you enjoy my channel, some of these you'll like to, and they sure would appreciate you. Most of them that I'm aware of at least try to acknowledge that you left a comment. And I think that's important to keep in contact with those that gave you their time. Why not give you some of your time back? I know there's channels out there that are too busy. They've gotten so big they can't. And sometimes you have to understand that too. They just don't have that kind of time, personal contact. But on a small channel, while they're still small, at least you can get on that personal contact with them and have an understanding of a meeting of the minds, if you will. Yeah, my favorite hobby, by the way, is wrapped up in things like behind me. Cars, trucks, anything with a motor. One of these days, providing I don't go into the next stage of my life, maybe I'll get a electric vehicle. I do have a bike that's an EV bike. That's my first graduation into the modern technology. But it's simple technology. It's not much. But a car might have a different challenge to it. It'll have less moving parts, but parts that I have to mess with for years. But the equipment that I used to design was much more complicated than the vehicles that are on the road today. They're supposedly going to be our future. When I look at them, there was things there that we threw away back in the 60s. Electronic control was miserable at best. I've got some stories on that, and one of these days maybe I'll break it down for you. But anything that uses electronic modules and stuff, they only have a certain life on them, and they're not built to last forever. But you take an old Model A, and they literally would last you almost forever. You might have to do a ring job on them, but you know you could work on them. You could change the motor out in about 45 minutes. You could rebuild them in a couple hours. You could pull the pistons out, ring them, put them back in. The old Model A, of course, it didn't have bearings in it. It was, more of a poured Babbitt system. And you could take a file sometimes if it was just getting a little bit of a tick to it, and file the cap or the rod, put it back together, and turn it over real easy and make sure that it was okay. And you could run a few more miles with it, just almost like putting new bearings in it. But in the 50s, well, actually, part of the 40s, I think, not 50s mainly, they started in with these bearings. They were brass bearing, and those did a good job. The car would last forever, just about by changing oil and things like that. I would love if they would go back to the middle 50s for cars today. For one thing, I'd never have to worry about ever replacing it. They had heavier steel, better frames. The motors had softer blocks, so I'd prefer a newer motor, but I'd get rid of all the electronics. If I did that, you would have cars that would be million-mile cars out there. Today, a car is made to last about 5 years, and then your modules start breaking down. They won't work as well. Anything that has an arc or spark or is subject to weather conditions, whether it be cold or heat, will not last. And that is one of the problems they've never solved with modules. heat is a very big problem in the newer cars, so therefore, the more it's contained, the more problems you have. Well, when you look underneath the hood of a car, now this one here, you can still see the ground when you look through it. I have a Cadillac in my garage down there, a beautiful car, and you can't see the ground from the top. It's all covered completely up on top. It's got covers on it. It caused a lot of heat. I have a Lincoln that the heat caused some of the stuff to already burn out on it. Now, that one I bought a year before I retired. And it's still the most comfortable car I've driven in. I mean, my Cadillac is nothing compared to that Lincoln. But it still had the same problem with electronic control, so therefore the heat affected it, and it went bad. And the other thing I've had to do is change the rear wheel bearings 3 times on that car. And it's only got 71,000 miles on it. So, and I've had it since about 16 years, I think it is. Yeah, I'll be darned. 16 years. So it's low mileage for the years. You can't tell it by looking at it. It still looks like a new car. One of these days I'll put it in here, you'll see what I'm talking about. My wife and I keep our vehicles pretty much spotless, so other than ones like this that had some miles on it when I bought it, was had been wrecked, and it's just my hobby. I love to work on those old things. With that, I'm going to let you go. I babbled. I shouldn't have. I hope some of it was informative. I hope you look at those people that I give a shout out to. It's important that we all help each other, and part of that is if you enjoy my channel whatsoever, you'll probably enjoy most of these. But there again, it's up to you. It's your discretion, not mine. See you later. I'll be back.